You know, I have a little Sanyo tape deck, little component one. Doesn't look like the greatest of quality thing, but it's actually got a DIN connector on it. It is a RD4550, made in Japan. So I guess probably late 70s, early 80s kind of age. I have no idea what's wrong with this, but it was for sale fairly cheap, so I thought I'd grab it and just have a quick play with it. This is kind of the old one with VU meters, not the biggest or most impressive VU meters, but at least it's got analog meters on it. Makes it a little bit more retro. Okay, so I've got mostly silver screws for some reason. And it seems to be in good condition generally. It needs a bit of a clean like everything does. But more than likely I've got the belt or something, so it's got a metal top on it. Ooh, what a horrible design. Definitely looks 70s on the inside. Old sort of tarnished looking trim pots. Wow, that's quite the record switch mechanism there. Great big thing here to press two double record switches, one for each channel, but nicely laid out. The heads come in, nice symmetrical little stereo set out there for the record playback circuit. Even some copper covered thing there, I'm not sure what that is. It's in, well, power supply area. I don't know if it's the bias oscillator or something. Could be, maybe they shielded it all. Got a weird smell to it, and the front panel's slightly broken there. So that's not a good sign, it's actually pushing out. So I don't know, yeah, one of the meters is actually has gone back in, so maybe this has been dropped or something at some stage. Probably hasn't damaged anything, it's just a matter of getting the panel loose enough to pop that meter back in behind it, and I'll probably be fine. But the circuit board doesn't look cracked or anything. If I just slide that meter, I think they're usually not really sitting there very well, but no, it doesn't seem to want to come back. Ah, there we go. And that's probably that fixed. I'll put at least one screw back in there for now, even though part of the panel's been broken off. So I guess the next step is get rid of that cable tie, plug it in and see what it does. Power on is up, so that's a bit Irish to say the least of it. That's a bit of an odd one, and I've got the lights. So it's even got lit up VU meters. I wasn't really expecting it to have that. It's actually got normal and chrome tape. Record input levels, headphone socket, mic left and right. Pause, stop. We should be able to just play this one. Ooh, I was a bit hesitant, but the take up reel's going. Pause works. Fast forward is going. The counter belt's not real great. Oh, we got no rewind. Is that rewind? Yeah. Of course, record won't go down without. Got to get used to where the buttons are now. Of course, it's got one of these things behind the door that angles out, so you can't easily test the torque of anything. Yeah, the play's not too bad. Oh, let's stop. Yeah, quite a bit of torque in fast forward, so at least if there's any idlers and stuff in there, they must be half decent. Quite an old school head in there, very dirty pinch roller. We've got one main belt there. I can see the one going to the counter looks a bit wobbly. And yeah, I can turn that easily. So that one's stretched. Geez, the motor pulley's in kind of deep, close to the metalwork. That almost looks like it's in too far. It doesn't quite line up with the other. I'll turn that off. That pulley definitely looks too close to the body of the motor. Did that move? I don't think it did. Maybe it's the actual shaft of the motor comes back out a bit, so I wonder if something's a bit worn there. It's not far off, but it's like half a millimetre probably out of a line. by the look of it. No, power will be good. Oh, actual deck's loose in this thing. The bottom screws are missing or something. Something I didn't notice before. I can't tell what's happening when I go to rewind. Looks like something should slide across, or is coming across. So maybe someone's got to play with this. Oh yeah, there's two screws missing under there. That's why that's loose. We could probably just take the front panel off and get access to that easy enough, hopefully. Well, that screwdriver isn't very magnetic. Maybe none of them are. Maybe that washer's heavier than it looks. Does not want to come off. Don't know why. It's magnetic now, so who knows. Probably not the best screwdriver to use. She's getting a bit old and grotty, that one. It picks that one up alright, so what the hell's going on there? You get some weird things, so don't ask me. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't think, no, that tape deck's got this thing in the way, so that ain't coming out. So we've got to take these record level knobs off. Jeez, they got stuck on there. That took some serious force. And do I need to do any more? How does this door come off if it comes off? Is it just, it's the old standard slide it up and off it comes. Yeah, I never like these things with this metal piece that comes out. Never understood the idea of it really, but maybe it's to help push the tape off the reels or something. Now there's, yes, you can't really see what, oh, there we go. We have, oh yeah, there's a little separate idler for rewind. Fast forward swings the main idler across directly onto the take up reel. It looks like they've got rubber wheels on each reel. But when we're going to rewind, it forces another little idler tyre between the supply reel, and seems to be have tension on it like it's actually touching that. Can I turn that? Yeah, that's turning everything, so why on earth? I mean, there's traction between, or is there? That's a bit, when I turn it that way, the wrong way, it seems to, yeah, it pulls it up nicely into there and works. Though it actually looks like it's not quite lined up. Much like the motor, there's a bit of misalignment there. Oh, I don't think it's enough with the tyre on the little idler versus the... Oh, I see this. I think this... Does this unscrew? It comes off the mech somehow. I think you can take this whole door piece off. Now, I wonder if it comes off while leaving this end bit on. Does that just slide? I think it does. Been a long time since I've looked at a design anything like this, so I'm not to that. How's that counter belt go, by the way? It goes down the counter and around the two pulleys. I might take these screws off here. I'm hoping that I can take this little end plate off, and then the door part will slide off the pins on the other end without having to take the bracket off. That is the best we can hope for. It's really annoying that someone nicked those screws. Oh, here we go. Something's coming apart. Actually, part of it is fixed on there. Unless we can, oh, there's a little screw. Do I want to risk taking that off? Ah, yeah, there's a little screw on each end just to make it difficult. I'm going to have to get that out. Whoops, there goes that screw. It just swung back and went inside somewhere. Of course. And, oh, there it is, it's coming out at least. Ooh, we've gained another washer too. God knows where that came from. I don't think it's anything to do with what I'm pulling to bits. I can unscrew that, but then I think I have to remove... Ah, the mechanism's held up here by the look of it. Someone's butchered that screw a bit, so someone's been in here before. In fact, is that meant to be a metal thread screw there? No, they put that would have been one of the screws from under the deck that they've screwed into the plastic. So someone didn't know what the hell they're doing. Then we've got an earth wire, but I think it's the actual record switch spring is holding everything together. Does that come off the other end? How do we get that off? I don't want to bend it too much to unhook it, but I think I can maybe. Ooh, just, yes. Oh, he's left a bend in it though. Not the greatest idea. So there's two other screws, and we should be able to take the other side of that other bracket that holds the eject mechanism in place. Although of course they put the door in the way of all that back. Oh no, what was that? Put the damn door. Oh, I think was it the record switch? So I think I just flicked something off there, or broke it. Put the door in the way of the screws. And the screw, God mighty, that is tight. So not only is something in its way, it has fallen off the pin now, which has helped. I don't know if something just shot off that pin or I damaged that little lever there. And that one's the same. And I've got another one of those washers loose in here. Another white plastic washer. So someone's been at something. Except I can't get this stupid thing out of the way. Oh, it's got something on the back of it as well. Okay, so there's another little two clear washers. Maybe they were just part of the mounting. We've got a switch loose now. And yeah, it's just hanging on the back there. Counterbelt went with it, so that's good. Ooh, this is actually loose. Oh man, someone really has had a play by the look of it. At least it doesn't just completely fall off, but we're missing, I assume, it doesn't have a slot for a... Oh, it must have had one of these caps on it. That's not a good sign. And there's oil all over the bottom of the thing. There's another bad sign. And something fell in there. Oh, I knocked that off. That is the little piece off there. Okay, I was going to say I didn't notice it missing before, but somehow I popped it off. How on earth did it knock that off? I thought I'd done something to this thing. I knew something from around that area came off. I hope it hasn't broken the thing. How does that fit on? I can't even remember how these things come on and off. Oh, they just fall. Oh, it has broken it, I think. I think they were just glued on. Whoop. Thankfully, I can see it. Oh, God, that's always what happens. You're looking at the stupid thing and then you drop it clumsily. That does not want to... Oh, yeah, that's it. I must remember, at least it comes off easy now. I must remember that needs gluing on. Which I bet I forget. Oh, good. Well, the head's actually unplugged. That's pretty rare for these older things. Erase head. And I better mark that. It's got two three-way connectors, which is a silly design. One for the erase head, one for the power switch and motor power and stuff. And we've got an earth wire, which we can someone's already half undone that screw anyway, because it's as loose as. But yeah, that's the other mech screws. Now we can get rid of that. And the easiest way to work on these is just to manually run them. So the capstan should be going that way. So we've got rewind. What the hell? It works when you don't have the... It's got reasonable torque. It's not the greatest, that little idle, but oh, that bit's fallen off again, of course. Someone's put oil all over this thing. Oh, it turns. The other one's free while it's doing it. They seem to be lined up better too, the wheels now, although yeah, that is kind of at the top of that other one, but not. So what on earth's going on there? Yeah, fast forward's the better one because it's got an almost direct drive. Nothing wrong with that rewind. Unless this piece was already broken off or something fell down in there. I assume it must have been that. That's just a spring for the record, which I need to straighten out anyway. Since, of course, when I had to bend it sideways to get it out, it decided to bend. So I'll put that back on the mech. Let it go on the back of this thing somewhere. Let's just hook that on there. Oh, I hate it when you pull something to bits and it seems to work. But often seems to happen to me for some reason. Oh, that's annoying. Can't fix something that works. Well, while I'm here, I might as well give everything a clean. Especially these idler surfaces. These have actually got rubber wheels on each reel. And I guess I better glue that piece back in place. Give this plastic centre one a clean. I shouldn't really be putting my finger directly on that, especially after I've been getting oil on myself, but I don't think there's any on that finger. Give this other little rewind idler a clean. Nice and loose. They feel a little, unless there's brakes on them or anything. Is there anything? There are now, I think. They're held solid. Let's take that idler off. Yeah, it's not exactly flying on its own, is it? Whoop. Pop that off again. Yeah, so these other ones, you've got to take that cap and that piece off, and probably that spring. Oh, we don't have to take the spring off, and then it's got a little circlet there. And that should be free. Oh, that's free, because it doesn't spin massively freely, but free enough. This one feels like it's got a bit of friction to it, unless there's something I'm missing that's breaking it. And the tiniest circlip on earth there, that's probably well, it's like the one on that little idler. They probably don't make them any smaller than that. All I can do is clean everything off there. Oh yeah, I think we've got some dried up grease at the bottom there. That's probably our problem. Yeah, there's something on there that doesn't just wipe off. So clean that. I'll shove a bit of grease back on there. Looks like it had the sort of black grease around that base bit, up that shaft a bit. Only needs a tiny amount. Still not the freest spinning thing I've ever seen, but it does a bit when you lift it up. Now there's nothing else holding it, is there? Certainly offers pretty much no friction. It had a bit of friction before when I was trying to turn it by hand. I guess I should really bring the camera down a bit lower. That's better, since I'm only working on the deck now. Might as well get in close. Now where did that go? Jeez, these things are easy to lose. Tiniest little circlip. Only about 3mm diameter or something. Ah, now it's going to stick to the pliers because they're magnetised. I think that's what that's doing. Oh Jesus, that's the worst thing that can happen. I forgot they do that. I heard it land somewhere. But where? Ah, you little... I might have to look on the camera and see if it sounded like it hit the carpet again. I'm hoping I got a used... Oh yeah, there's one. My God. Should be able to pick it up with the sticky end of that. There we go. Because who knows where the other one went. It'll probably show up as soon as I put this on. I should put that spring back on, so maybe we shouldn't use the pliers. I forgot that could happen. So I'm just going to have to use my hands to position it. All those little lessons you learn and then forget. So on there, that one's probably not quite as tight as it should be. Might even have to bend that a bit. It'll stay on there, I think, but I might just, yeah, another way to shoot it across the room is to bend it a bit too much, I think, is to do exactly that. Now I'm holding it in the pliers again like I shouldn't. Yeah, these fiddly little parts can be a real pain. Is that going to go back on like that? Of course it didn't want to bend, and then it suddenly went and bent too much, but if I can get that on, it'll be fine. But this is going to be a risk of shooting off across the room. I think that's going on. Yeah, it tries to and then comes back again. There we go. Yeah, that's nice and tight now. So you can sometimes do that with circlips, just bend them a little bit. I better not glue that on yet. It'll probably hold on there alright. Oh no, maybe not. It does come off pretty easy. But I don't think it'll just come off on its own in a hurry. Oh, the other thing I need to do is clean the tape path. Heads are perfectly clean, and weird, the heads are really clean, but the pinch roller's filthy. It's got a real nice orangey iron colour on the pinch roller. On the capstan too is actually very clean. There is one little band around the outer edge where the tape runs. Now, I guess I should try and see where this oil is coming from. I think it's just sitting on the bottom of the mech, but wipe off any oil they've left on there. Pinch roller's in excellent condition by the look of it. Hasn't even really got a mark where the tape's been pressed into it or anything like they sometimes get. Just got a dirty surface, I think, but it's amazingly, rubber feels perfect. Not hard, just nice and, yeah, fairly hard they should be, but you can feel them give a little bit. Yeah, there's a couple of little patches on this, but hardly worth worrying about. And yeah, a little bit of the usual dirt and dust that's settled in there. Doesn't really matter much. Let's remove any oily stuff from there. I guess I better check the condition of the belt, and yeah, it's probably on its last legs a bit, but that's doesn't slip very easily, surprisingly. It'll probably slip on that one a bit. Yeah, that's just slipping. If I hold the motor a bit easier than it should. Oh, that's that switch. I was going to say, why on earth? Oh, that's where the oil is. There's oil on there, and oil on there, and oil on there. Bloody people sticking oil in things. To be fair, where they've got that probably ain't going to hurt nothing, but at least they didn't spray it over the whole bloody mech like some people do. Some people just like to put oil everywhere, ruin all the clutches and stuff, and completely wreck the deck. Oh, we do have another idler here. I've been lucky with idlers lately and stuff. That these decks have been, this is still in almost mint condition in many ways. No cracked rubber. I think it's part of the Tasmanian climate, being a bit cool helps. But these are in exceptional condition. The last few I've looked at. Normally these sort of old decks, you'd expect a bit of trouble with them, but used to be the bane of some of these old tape decks is all the idlers would be gone, and often you couldn't even get them anymore, so that was really annoying. I guess what I should do is pull this belt out and see if I can find another one the same length. It looks like it's one of these we're going to have to take the capstan bit off, capstan bracket, or at least loosen it off. Yeah, just make sure we're not pressing on anything fragile, because we've got that switch floating around down there just to be annoying. Can I tilt this one up? Probably can, really. Yeah, you can just lift that up without taking it right off. And again, this is, yeah, I thought most of these used to have the 1.2 belts, but a lot of them seem to just have the 1 mil squared. So I'll go back into the eBay belt collection, which has turned out to be really handy. That's getting around that size. Is it a bit big? Just a bit, I think. Which one's the next one down? Oh, it's got a few twists in it. Yeah, that's the one, I think. It's just a bit small. There's that bloody circlip. Unbelievable. Right under the deck. So how to get there? How's that possible? I couldn't see it before. I'll just put that over there. Unbelievable. I knew it'd show up somewhere as soon as I didn't want it. Oh, better do my usual trick, which is always clean the slots on these where the belt runs. There's always a bit of muck in there. Good practice to get into. Yeah, a bit of rubber. Don't know if I can make that. Oh, this one's a bit dirty. Make that pulley sit a bit better. It seems a bit out of whack to me on the motor. But if it's nice and tight, I don't really fancy moving it. They're often glued in there. Sometimes they're just pressure fitted or press fitted. Belt does not like to lose its twists for some reason. You should always be careful because there can be a bit of grease on the back of the capstan there. But you don't want to be... I think that went on that side, didn't it? Don't want the belt touching. Oh, nearly got it, and there we got it. Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah, it's definite. Hard to, you can see, feel the belt basically stretching before it slips. If it sort of just slips without even trying too hard. Yeah, that was the old belt, I think. Should have kept that more separate. Still, that belt is in good enough condition. You probably could use it in another cassette player that needed a slightly longer belt, but I wouldn't recommend ever using second-hand belts unless you're desperate. Alright, I guess we'll put that back in the tape player and see what happens. I don't know what these lumps of foam are for, to hang on off the cabling. Is it meant to? It doesn't hold it there, so maybe it is. Maybe it was originally glued to something, but it seems a bit odd. They often did it for some reason, but just wipe all that oil out of there. Now, do I have to put the loading? Oh, I do have to put the loading bit back on first anyway, don't I? Let's get that out of the way for a minute. That might be the smarter thing to do. Oh, we got that. Forgot about that. We've got a counter belt as well, which goes. Let's go to this reel here. Yeah. Now does that went through? Did it go through there? Everything's trying to bite into the carpet. Now can I... Oh yeah, it went up over these things, didn't it? That's right, so it comes through that hole there. Huh, what a design. So I better grab my belts again and look for a much longer one. This belt kit's turned out to be well worth the few dollars that it cost. Don't know if we've got them quite that long though, do we? It's getting a bit messed up now, which isn't ideal, but I was going to put it in another bag and never got round to it. That's probably getting close. As long as it's not super tight, I think that's the longest one in there anyway. So we'll try that one. What I really need to do is measure these belts, or at least get them into bags of relatively similar length ones. I don't know how long they're going to last is the only hassle, but they seem to be reasonably well made. Whoops, got one stuck there. I guess I don't have to get them on those pulleys yet. I just kind of want to get a feel for it though. I've really got to try it before we put this mech on, just to make sure it's not super tight. And it goes around that little pulley on the reel there. That's probably about perfect really. Could be maybe a little bit looser, but now what I've got to do, where's play there? Loosen this reel off. Yeah, at least that reel's nice and loose. Better reset that because the counter's jammed for some reason, probably just because they sometimes get out of whack. That's working fine. And that's, you know, quite loose really. For a belt that's that much shorter, I would have expected a bit tighter, but that's not putting any real force on anything, so that's fine. Now, does this go in over the top? I think that's, and this of course screws under that bit. So I think we've got to pull the end of the belt back off the counter itself and shove it through this hole in the end plate thing here on the door. Oh, of course it's come off the other one. This is going to be fun. Anyway, as long as it's through that hole where it's got to go eventually, and it's roughly around the reel, I think when we pull it tight it should just pull up onto the reel anyway. Now I think I've actually got to put this other end on first. What is going on here? I think it's spun right around that bit, hasn't it? That'll be right. And I've got that little switch has to go back on. So, oh yeah, that slots in under the face of the deck here. Ah, what a design. That piece we've got to try and get in there. Yeah, you finally got there. And now this is sitting in an oddball position. What a really awful thing. I wonder if that's meant that that piece must go in that little slot there. Yeah, this is a real fiddly mech. And then oh yeah, this pin at the top's got to go into the black piece. I think we've almost got it where I can put the screws back in. Oh, but that's right, we had this trouble. I need to have this bit out of the way. There's a pin there holding it. Yeah, I've got to screw that end on first because that was what caused me grief in the first place. So yeah, this thing did, if you push it sideways, it pops that little centerpiece off by the look of it. Which I still won't glue just yet until I think I can get back to it to still this mongrel thing in the way. Yeah, so when I was pushing sideways it popped that little end of the reel off. I should have lifted it up like this. And that's the problem with these older ones, is every deck's completely different. Every manufacturer has its own way of doing it, and then they change the decks year after year, much like VCR mechanisms. They just change them every few years. But tape decks sort of quickly got to the cheapo mix that just everyone used, whereas VCRs, they still kept changing them every few years. That in there, that in there. I guess it was a bit more money in VCRs, so maybe they could keep doing the R&D on those more or something. It was worth trying to be more competitive with them. So we're trying to do that belt on the pulley on the reel, because it's lifted of course, out of the slot. Yeah, it's not a great idea. That's got it. And now that we've got it through that hole, I can tension it up on these, I think, to keep it on the, otherwise it's just going to fall off the slot in the reel. And I'll check it again, it's in the slot. So now I can screw this other bit on. Oh, where did that little, oh yeah, that little clamp thing was for the cables on this. Oh, I didn't put that switch on, did I? So many fiddly little things. Okay, let's get this little, I think I'm right to take the other one out after, even with all this in place. Oop, that's turned off again. I hope that got to the end of the tape. Got the old Sanyo on test here for intermittent tape turning off. As long as it stops on the end of the tape only, I'm happy. So those wires were meant to go up under there and fold that down. That keeps, make sure they can't get into the mech anywhere. And of course somewhere I've got a little switch flying around, flapping around in the breeze. I can get that out of the way now. Undo this bottom screw here again. Oh, did I tighten the capstan bracket up? I'm not sure I did. Now where does this switch go? Which I'll take more notice before I pull things to bits. Well, the wires suggest it went up in there, but that can't be right, can it? Oh, we're in play mode. Ah, okay. Yeah, so when the erase head rises, it pushes on a little switch. I'm not sure what that's about, but Unless that's, well, maybe it does start the motor. I wouldn't think so, but try and get that tight. No, I didn't tighten that up, naughty. But I remembered it before I put everything back together. That's the important bit. Should have done that as soon as I put that capstan belt in, but I got distracted with cleaning things. So it's just these two screws on the end that hold that little plate on the back of the capstan. And I've got it. The other thing I do want to do before I put it back in the case is get this record thing hooked in. How did the other end come out though? It does come out. I thought the other end didn't look like it was going to come out in a hurry, but it probably wants to go the other way, so that that other end, the hook is pointing down, so I can sort of hook it in, hopefully. And I just got to check. I did get that belt in the right way, didn't I? Let's go to say fast forward. Ooh, did I? Or have I got that on the wrong side? No, that's correct. You can always check with things like these pulleys whether the belt goes on one side or the other by just turning the capstan so that the pinch roller is turning obviously clockwise, the capstan anti-clockwise, and just make sure this is going anti-clockwise as well. And if we go to rewind, keep turning in the same direction, and it obviously goes in the clockwise direction. We'll be pulling the tape back that way. Fast forward and rewind. Yeah, they basically go in opposite directions while you keep turning the capstan the same way. So that should be right to put back in now. Theoretically. I'll chuck those belts in the rubbish. I might chuck that bit of foam out as well. I don't know what that was meant to do. Oh, I still got these. I gained two little white plastic washers here that were floating around inside this thing, and I still don't know what they actually do. Whether they were some sort of spacers on the mech itself or something. I have zero idea, like where it sits on the screws underneath. They wouldn't have spacers there, would they? Who knows? I have no idea, so I need to get our record spring in the right spot and all this wiring back over that way somewhere. And where's that earth wire? Get that hanging out the back or something. Now, there was a, oh yeah, that's right, there's a screw here which I'm going to have to find a new screw for, because someone's pinched that one. I'll put a metal screw there from underneath. God, I only got a crappy rusty one, but that'll do for the moment. In my spare screw collection. Now, is there another screw under here? I don't think there is. We've got all the deck in, we've got those in. Yeah, that's all looking good. We've got to put an earth. Oh, was that another screw that was wrong? I had a feeling it was. Because that should be another plastic type screw down there where the earth wire went. Oh, actually, we've got two. Oh, actually, I think the earth wire went under there as well. Just to be annoying. It's meant to go under the screw on the top of the mech. Even it's, oh no, it's not actually already connected to the mech. I was hooked to the motor, I think. So there's the mech there, and then we've got to go down to that other plate. Let's pull one of these other screws out, because I'm pretty sure that had a metal screw in there or something as well. There's a problem when other people have been messing with stuff here. That's a plastic type thread, self-tapping type thing. I'm pretty sure the screw that came, because I've got the one for the front panel. Yeah, the only other screw I got is the wrong sort. That's why you need spare screws. Out of old equipment you've pulled to bits. That one's a bit long. That one will do. Doesn't look the same. I like to try and keep them all original, but I used to have a great big collection of screws to do that. I Unfortunately, I chucked most of those out. Yeah, so pretty common with these things, especially when you can't see the back bit here when I was pulling it to bits, for things to get out of whack. So we've got this little lever here that can spin around. Unfortunately, even when I take the hinge off, it doesn't quite do a 180. That bit hits on that one's kind of tight. I could probably bend it and manage to get it through, but I'm not going to do that. Should be able to just take this circlip off, and it's just got to go on top of this little lever bit here, little angled piece. This whole slide bit that angled piece on's coming from the record switch. So we want to get that on the other side, I think. Like so. Now there's a screw in the way there as well, of course. Is it going to let me put it back on? Yeah, just. Yes, that little pointy end of this thing. A little cut out there, I'm not quite sure, maybe because it goes up where that screw is. That needs to be on top of this other bent up piece. And that should get our record playback spring in the right place. Now to try and get this circlip back on without it flying across the room. And if I can get it in just the right spot, I should be able to just slide that on with the pliers. Of course it's rotating. Ah, you little bugger. Oop. They never want to go on easily. Oh, someone hasn't made some little device to hold them captive and then squeeze them on at the same time. I'm sure it could be done. But I normally just use a pair of pliers. Not always the easiest way to do it, but if that's lined up with a slot, that should go on. Try not to pinch my finger in the process, but I guess I should have really tilted the mech over the other way, would have made it easier. So that's there. And we want that facing down. Yeah, like so. Oops, I've got that earth wire still connected here. Get the spring through the little slot it goes in. Now it's fallen off again, of course. And we want it that way. Probably should have just saved that to later. And I guess in theory I probably should have checked. Got to get these wires in the right place. Probably should have checked that record switch worked before I started screwing the mech in. And our earth wire has to come back over into there. So that should hold the mech in good enough for now. Looks like one of that end's held in by the front panel. And now we need to get that spring just sitting on the bottom of that case here. Ah, why won't that come up now? Okay, so we'll get this spring, and you can actually, often the easiest way is grab it with a pair of side cutters near the end here, get it near the hole, and if I push down on the spring, it'll rotate it enough to get the end through the hole. Now, when we pull on this, it pushes and switches, so that's a bit better. Now we're going to plug all our connectors back in. I was going to say the heads ain't going to reach over there, they went over near the switches. If I can get it on there. And then we've got the motor and the, whatever the other one is, a race head or something. So look at that must be the bias oscillator in that little metal can, I think. Since the race head goes over there and it's near the power section, that's probably what that is. Although I've got that too tight now, so that probably is meant to sit somewhere else. Put that tape back down, I don't know if it's going to stay there. So that should basically be in working order. Apply power again. And the rewind's working, so who knows why that... I'm not sure what I actually did to fix it, which is a worry. Fast forward. Yeah, a lot more torque now. Yeah, always hit pause on this one for some reason. Heaps of torque on rewind, so yeah, hit pause again. Hit play. Yeah, Definitely more torquey than it was. The belt isn't looking so weird, bouncing around, going up and down to that. Probably had a bit of a bend in it from sitting for so long. But that is probably a working tape deck. I still got to glue that little reel piece on if I'm happy that the thing's working. I guess the next thing is hook it up to an amplifier and put a tape in. Because who knows if the sound's going to be right or anything, like as far as speed or the record playback switch is dicky or something. And hope he doesn't get chewed up, but he shouldn't in that condition. Play was that. Yep. Now what input have we got the amp on? Oh, just the beginning of the tape. Sounds surprisingly good. Forgot how long the leader tape was. Doesn't sound like Julio Iglesias, but I think he's in the background there somewhere. Better pull as that, but that I don't actually know what he sounds like that well, so but I think that's sounding rather good, like surprisingly good for one of these old decks. Rewind seems to be working alright. Pause, I always hit pause on this one.
1,000 copies of this cassette have been sent to community leaders, business houses, advertisers, and their agencies. Welcome to Stereo AM, the state of the art in Australian radio. It's a new opportunity for us all, and a boon to we humble folk who make a living out of radio.
Yeah, it seems to be sounding alright. Work out where the pause button is.
And some 20,000 copies of this cassette have been sent to community leaders, business.
Possibly a bit of wow there, but I'm not sure, it might just be that recording. Sure, sounds like it might be running a little fast. I guess the only real way to find out is wrong device. I need to get the frequency counter going. And hook this into that. I'll run a test tape. Only way to be sure, unless you've got music that you're really familiar with. I really need to record some modern stuff onto tape, so that I can instantly tell if songs I'm familiar with. Yeah, what are we on? Probably past all the test tones, so it always seems to be at the end. I'll never get used to that pause button. Oh, did I unplug both channels? I shouldn't have done that, should I? Sound of it. At least find the 1 kilohertz, and then I'll hook it up to the frequency counter. That's it. Does sound like there's a little bit of wow there. These are good for testing for that as well. If it warbles at all, one channel, there's not really a lot of difference there. 1 meter's reading slightly higher. I think they both should be up around 0 dB. Down a little bit, one more so than the other. Do have to make sure this is sort of sitting in the mech right. And where's the damn plug? Don't want to be listening to that. And the frequency counter isn't telling me anything. That's only just over 1.036 kilohertz, so that's pretty good. almost not worth the bother of tweaking. Looks like this motor has a hole in the back. That little hole there. So you should be able to get a screwdriver in there and adjust it. Or maybe if that device fits in there, which it probably won't. Not sure if that's going to turn it, it might. I did something because it's now 900. So even this little Sony tweaky tool must be getting in there. Oh, God, you just touch it and it goes all over the place. Oh, now we're up to 14. Oh, we're going up to, like always, it changes to the next part of the tape. Right, it's about to set the thing. It runs out. I don't know why they run such a short 1 kilohertz thing, but that's what they do. Oh, now we've suddenly gone super fast. Oop, 995, no, 926. This tool really doesn't work very well at this. Well, it's either 900 kilohertz or 1300 kilohertz, doesn't seem to be an in-between. Can I get this other tool in here? Sometimes you've got to be careful that the screwdriver doesn't short the pot onto the case of the motor. Yes, 1300 or 900. I reckon it's the bloody wiper must go right around our circle. I just kept turning it. Now we're back. 10,007, 996. Oh, now it's jumping again. 1001. That's 1001 hertz. So that's close. 1002. I think that's as good as you're going to get it. 996, 997. Oh, don't do that. I can't really tweak it any less than that. 998. I think I can get it within 2 hertz. Oops, I went the wrong way, I think. 999. 998. And then it just jumps like 1002, 1004. I think 1002 is going to be it. Noisy old frequency counter. And the other thing I was just going to check again is the wow. Seems to be a little bit. And we can also set this. You can actually see the meter flickering a bit there. Now, which one set the playback levels? There are some pots hiding down. Oh, they actually put holes there, which is good. Square hole here. I think that's got to be our playbacks. Probably a setting for playback and a setting for the meters. And we need to know which one's out of whack. Which is where you really need an oscilloscope on the output. Or very good ears. Okay, there is a little bit of wow and flutter still. I just tweaked the pots ever so slightly to get the levels right on both channels, and the meter was slightly out, so I tweaked that as well. Just the trim pots. Sounds a little wowy. They're never perfect, but so it might be worth just removing the motor, which I think I can do with it without dismantling everything. Looks like they should be able to take this bracket off here. Might remove that tape. I don't know if we really need that in there at all, but soon find out. I guess if I undo these top 2 screws, I'm not sure if this just comes off or it's going to be more than that, but I think that, yeah, no, she just drops off by the look of it. If I can keep the belt on its pulleys, other than taking it off this one, that's going to be the real hassle. I'll just let it come off, I think, and hope it doesn't come off everything. It is a rather noisy motor, but if you 3912. Well, that's not the year. Yeah, I don't know whether to unsolder this or just do it as is. I think the back just, yeah, they just pop off these by the look of it. Or do they? Don't want to risk breaking the circuit board or anything by leaning against. That's the problem. It's the only thing you can really push on. I think these just pop out, but the question is, what do you push against to pop them out? In theory, you should be able to do it against this case here. But the bigger screwdriver might work. It's not going to fit in there. That's probably why they give you this hole on the other side. Yeah, there it goes. So you don't have to use the other side to do it. It's a bit iffy if you've got to prise it all up on one side though. Oh, you can just do it, I think, without being super careful not to crack that circuit board. And it's just coming. Try to find a bigger screwdriver this side, probably will. Oh, here it comes. If I can get it a little bit higher. Yeah, there we go. Ooh. Foam stuff's broken up in there. Not surprising given its age. Yeah, it's actually stuck to, looks like an old germanium transistor in there. Is that what that is? It is. So this is certainly pretty old. Yeah, I'll possibly have to take those screws out before, no, don't even need to do that. Looks like this will slide out. Oh, come on. What's holding it? Well, it should just slide out. Should slide out easy as. Might have to give it a bit of a hand. There is something to do with those screws. I might take them out just to be sure, but they shouldn't be holding anything. Doesn't mean they aren't though. Doesn't look like it. They're just very shallow screws, so I can't see that they're going to do anything. I'll just mark that so I know where it went. Just mark that and that. Doesn't look like there's anything holding it, so what is holding it together? Is it just a bit of friction or something here? Sounds like something scraping on the side or something. There's some sort of plastic stuff in there. I reckon it's catching on those little indent things that stop the back going in too far. That's annoying. I don't want to push it too hard here. If you just push a bit harder, it gets there. Yeah, there's a ring of metal with tape on it. That's just, like I say, catching on those things, I think. Does that need the... Oh, it should almost pull over the pulley. Have to put that back on, I think. Now, how's this attached to the motor? There must be terminals. There's one. Oh, the other one's that little... Oh, it's actually, yeah, the one with the wires. I wouldn't mind actually prising this pulley up a little bit higher too, because it seems a bit too low. Oh, it's not going to go though. Can try and get a bit of oil into it. Get it in the gap between the pulley and the motor. Try and run it down into there a bit, like that did. Perfect. I'll give that pulley a clean after anyway. Not sure that's really made any difference, but it's worth a try. I think that's a little bit less noisy. That slides up and down too, that's worth doing just to work it in. Still a little bit noisy. I don't know if there's something under this trim part if I carefully lift it, not that you can see. much on the back of the motor anyway. Pretty sure it's just a little... I think you really need to pull the back off this bit as well, probably. But then you risk messing up the brushes, I mean. And having trouble getting them back in place. Oops. Just give that pulley a clean to make sure there's no oil on that, and probably around the area a bit. That's all I can really do, I think. Put the rubber bit back on. Making sure that's not touching the pulley. It's pretty damn close. So I guess as long as that's definitely pushing down enough that it's not touching it, which is what the motor casing should do. Now, do we need to put that other bit on here first? Maybe to be safe, because it is kind of sprung. I'm not sure you'll get the motor back in with that in there. And get the housing on. Yeah, it's rather tight. Is that going to push the rubber bit into the right position? I guess that's what we need this foam for. That is rather critical, I think, to push everything into place when we put the other rubber bit on. Did I get that in the right spot? Should have double checked, shouldn't I? Oh yeah, that's where that transistor is. Now it's broken again. So I wonder if, yeah, that could be an issue. I guess if this, maybe that's why that pulley was, yeah, I wonder if that's why that wasn't sticking out enough. If this foam has sort of shrunk, that would actually make sense. I can push this back in and hope it holds everything where it needs to go. Ooh. Oh, come on. Of course, one side goes in and then the other one doesn't want to, because there's too much angle on it. Damn, if I can get that back out. There we go. You've got to try and put it in evenly if possible, but it never seems to want to go evenly. Oh, you push on it and it suddenly goes like before and the other side pops out. Yeah, not real easy to do it. There seems to be one bit that doesn't want to go. It's almost tempting to pack that with a bit of tape or something just to push it through a bit better. We'll see how it goes once this back's on, if I can get it on. That's got it. That motor is sitting down a little bit, I think, compared to what it should be. And I guess this... well, the rubber bit's up. Don't think as long as the rubber's clear of that thing, I'm happy, but yeah, I think it'll stay there alright. Yeah, put this bracket back on that I didn't really have to take off, but I wasn't sure. Get these little tiny screws back in there. Get those nice and tight. And we've got to get the belt back on. Oh, this probably does go under those other wires, doesn't it? That would make sense. Now, fingers crossed. The belt's still near the pulleys. I've just got to try and stretch it a bit. I think it stayed where it should. It's got plenty of tension. I guess if it had slipped off, we'd soon know about it, because the tension would come out of it, I would think. But it's possible if it's not quite sitting right, you could spin it a bit and it seems to be turning alright without suddenly going limp or anything. Oh, I think that went under the wires and then back over them. Proper size screwdriver. Oops. Well, we'll see if it sounds any different. Probably doesn't, but sounds about the same to me. I could be wrong, but might be slightly better. Not much you can really do. Maybe just give it a good bit of a run so the motor actually gets to be used. Guess the only thing I haven't tried is actually recording on this. I'll rewind it to the beginning, I guess. That doesn't sound like any sort of auto stop is kicking in. That's one thing I didn't think about. What does this use for auto stop? Try the other way. Fast forward. Yes, if that did have an auto stop mechanism, it's not doing much. I'm not sure whether these old ones even had one, but you'd normally expect them to do something. Must admit I didn't see anything obvious in there. Ah, it's got one of the tension ones by the look of it. I wonder if that's got out of whack. Almost looks like someone's unscrewed something from there, which is a worry. Yeah, we should be able to... yeah, it's not doing anything, is it? That should unlatch the mech. I didn't think of that. Oh, that maybe it only operates in play. It's up in play. Oh, it works in play. Oh, of course, it's probably not going to be up enough to... Yeah, so maybe there is no... Oh, it definitely looks like someone's unscrewed something off a little bracket next to that thing. Yeah, it doesn't move up or down in... Maybe you just expected to hear it and the clutch to slip until someone stops it. I don't know, it's a bit dodgy. But anyway, let's get some audio into this thing. Oh, that didn't sound too good. That didn't just break, did it? Something slipped a bit. Very tight fitting. Now we need to go pause and play record, and I'm not seeing any get rid of chrome. Oh, because they're both down at minimum, that wouldn't help. So we should be getting them flicking somewhere so the peaks are getting up around 0 or something, just below the red zone. Yeah, they're both about the same. When they look at right, I could probably go a tad higher with it. Music, or it depends on the music, I guess. So I'll go back to the beginning, take off pause, put the VUs flicking away there. Actually, I thought in record mode often the sound had come through back out the auxiliary, or back out the line level, so you could actually hear it, even though the levels and stuff don't have anything to do with it. I thought most tape decks used to let it, as soon as you hit record you could hear the music you're recording, which makes a lot of sense because then you can cue it up. So I don't know why this one isn't doing that. It did record it though. Scratchy maybe. A bit of wow in it, I think. Level down quite a bit lower maybe than what it was. of that channel, at least one of them's fluttering or going a bit scratchy, so the record switches might need a clean. It certainly won't hurt to give them a clean. Get rid of the tape out of there so we can just actually really need a tape in there, don't you? Actually, we can go to a blank part of that tape. No, it doesn't matter if I wreck that recording I just had in there. And we just need to be able to push that. I guess I can do it manually if I turn the power off. There's nothing to stop me going like, which way is it? That way. So I need to get some contact cleaner up inside those switches. This way's usually go in from the ends. If there's holes where those springs are in them, stick plenty down in there as well. Flood them out, and we can get up the other end of them. Where is the other end? These are quite short ones. Right there somewhere. And there's the other one. Not easy to see from under all this plastic stuff. And then we'll give them a good flicking work that contact cleaner into there. That should be enough, I think. Power would be handy. I'll rewind back to the beginning. Yeah, it's pretty annoying if it does that every time. Squeals on ya. And record. Levels seem a lot lower this time, although no, they're building up. That channel does seem lower than the other, or is it just... it's not peaking up quite as much as that one, maybe. Oops. It is, so maybe those pots could also be a bit dicky. Oh, it's because that one's set to 4 and this one isn't, that's why. Must have bumped them when I was messing around. But yeah, interesting you can't monitor the sound that you're recording. Previous recording, I'll try it a little bit more. Well, I think there is quite a bit of wow still in this thing. And that is getting to be a problem with these tape players. Even when you put new belts and stuff in them now, the motors is not the best. I better not play much of that. That'll definitely get a copyright strike, but it's a good bit of audio to test some of the wow and stuff on. Yeah, there's a little bit there, I think. Quite a bit of wow. Yeah, seems like it's going to be a bit of an issue with these older decks. I guess one thing we could try is actually put the signal generator into there, and no doubt if it's got some wow, it'll certainly show up if we put a sine wave into it and then play back the sine wave on the same machine. That is another good way of testing just how bad it is. I'll just have to sort that lead. I can't be bothered finding another RCA cable. I'll take that from the output to the input. And let's turn the frequency down. I think that's 2 kilohertz. Oh, that's around a kilohertz. It doesn't really matter what the frequency is, I guess. Yeah, we've got a nice steady level. Let's get it right up to the just under the 0 dB there. I better reset the counter. I hope I'm reading the frequency meter on that thing right. Should be around a 1 kilohertz tone. Yeah, it's a definite wow in that. And no doubt that'll show up on the oscilloscope as quite a bit of frequency variation, I would think. Yes, different levels, and it's not moving in frequency as much as I expected. Definitely jittering around though. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, one of them seems to have an iffy level. But yeah, no, if you look at the edge of the screen, you can definitely see a bit of jitter there. Okay, let's try and play that. And you can see that bottom bit swing around, that's the frequency. There's a bit of difference in amplitude there, even though I set the playback on the test tape. I can actually see it on the meters. One's at just over 0 and one's like, yeah, nearly +3, so that's what I just recorded. So there's a record level difference there, even though they were both connected to the same mono output of a pattern, function generator. So yeah, we do have a bit of a issue with some wow in it, which seems to be a common thing with all these old decks I'm doing up. They're never perfect, even when they were brand new, but that's getting a bit much when you can hear it that well and see it on the oscilloscope that much. I think it's the old motors in these things are just either going to need to be stripped down and fully lubed or replaced, and it probably doesn't help putting new belts in these things. That motor is actually pulling sideways. I wonder if it's that foam stuff in it. Could be wrong, but it looks like the motor shaft's actually pulling sideways a bit, so I wonder if that could be making that touch that rubber stuff. It does seem to have gone in further than it was before. It really wouldn't take much of, yeah, if it was slightly rubbing on that rubber bit. Of course, a bit hard to see with that extra bracket on it. Maybe that's what's does look slightly off the straight. That's something we're going to have to probably look into to get some of these old decks going 100%. Because yeah, pretty horrible if they got wow in them. But for the moment, I think that's about all I'm going to do with that one. At least it's sort of going again. Been serviced, new belts. Oh, we've got a free ladybug on the top now. I think that mongrel was getting in a TV chassis before, and I was worried it's going to blow something in the power supply. Wakey, wakey. Yeah, it's alive. Doesn't like being disturbed, I don't think. Come on. Don't you have some aphids to eat? Instead of bludgeoning in here. Yeah, I just had these weird long plastic screws in it, which I don't think are the correct random assortment of screws. Well, it's got some black screws in it now. It does need a bit of a clean up, but the front's actually in pretty good nick. Door needs a bit of a clean. And yeah, I'll have to think about whether to get another motor for it. If you wanted to get this 100%, you'd probably need a new motor, or maybe to try and refurbish one that's in it. But anyway, thanks for watching.